What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the first week of the NFL show, brought to you by myself, Mr. Lale, and CD Warren. We're going to start this week off with the loves and hates from the first 3 weeks. I'm going to start off with the loves. The first three teams I thought played well, the best they probably could have. First team is the Rams. They look great with Stafford. He fits well in that offense. That defense is still top 5. Jalen Ramsey in his new role is just great. And they beat the defending champs, so that's one of my loves. Second love I have is the Las Vegas Raiders. You open up the season with the Monday night victory over a good Ravens team, and then you follow that up with the victory on the road against the Steelers. You can't deny that 3-0 record, and I think they're going to be a good team going down to the stretch. Last love I got is the Dallas Cowboys. This team loses on Thursday night to the defending champs on the road by a last-second field goal. They hung that game. They showed they could play defense. That offense looked great. And then they beat a great Chargers team on the road. We just saw them knock off the Chiefs, so we know the Chargers are the real deal. Dallas Cowboys, I love them going forward. Three teams I think underperformed. I did not like their performance. Number one is the Kansas City Chiefs. You take an L to the Chargers and Ravens. The defense just looks terrible. It looks like it's made of paper. Can't stop anyone from running the ball. And then Mahomes, he's not looking like himself this year. He's making uncharacteristic plays, just throwing the ball into coverage, no look passing. He needs to figure it out, or this Chiefs team is going to be doomed going down the stretch. Second team I hated was the Chicago Bears. You do play a tough Rams team, number one team in the NFL. That's my hot take in this video. And you lose, but that's fine. And then you play a good Browns team. I'm going to give you that, but the reason I hate this team, even though they're 1-2 with 2 losses to the Rams and Browns, is because of their coach, Matt Nagy. He has Justin Fields and a terrible offense. The scheme is terrible. The play calling is terrible. There's no future for this Bears team with Matt Nagy, so they need to get him out of there right away. The last team I hated from the first 3 weeks is the New England Patriots. I think that this offense has been a disappointment. With Mac Jones, we expected a gunslinging quarterback that plays like Brady. We got wide receivers dropping balls out there. Jonnu Smith's not playing like himself. Defense is playing well. Just uncharacteristic penalties that are hurting the Patriots right now, and that offense still hasn't clicked, but I expect them to come back in the future. I'm going to send it off to Jack now for a second segment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beckwith. I will go ahead now and give my 3 teams I loved and hated from weeks 1 through 3. First team I loved was the LA Rams. I hate rooting for them, but I just got to accept that they're good and they're probably going to win the Super Bowl this year. Next team I loved, the Cleveland Browns. Even though they're only 2-1, it's a good record, but even though they're 2-1 and not undefeated, like a lot of people want their teams they love to be, they're still a really good team. They have talent everywhere. OBJ is back. I think they're still going to be a top seed in the AFC come playoff time. The next team I loved, maybe a little bit of a hot take, but I think they're good. The Cincinnati Bengals, man. That offense has been clicking. Jamar Chase really fits well there. And that defense is actually playing well, something nobody would have expected coming into this year. But I think that they could sneak into that 7 seed in the playoffs. Watch out. 3 teams I hated. First one is the Jets. Pretty self-explanatory. They're terrible. Zach Wilson isn't good. They haven't had a good quarterback since Joe Namath. I feel bad for you Jets fans. Not really. Next team I hated was the Chiefs. They have no defense. I don't care who is your quarterback, who your receivers are, who your running backs are, who your coaches. If you don't have a defense, you're not going to win games. Next team I hated, the Washington football team. I don't know what happened to their defense over the offseason. They have the same players, but they just aren't good anymore. They gave up like 41 points to the Bills, and I don't know, their offense isn't good, and when you don't have that great of an offense, you really need to have a good defense, and they have neither right now, so they got to figure it out. Moving on to awards, that will be our next segment. Awards through the first 3 weeks. Started off with MVP, Matthew Stafford, 9 touchdowns, actually 10 I think, 1 interception. He fits in really well there. Not a lot else to say. Offensive Player of the Year, his teammate Cooper Kupp, leading the league in receiving yards, proving that he can be a number 1 option. He's a beast. Definitely deserves that. Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett. He had 4.5 sacks the other day. in one game. Come on. He's a defensive player of the year. Offensive rookie of the year might be a boring pick, but I have Penei Sewell. He has not given up a sack in his first 3 games. A lot of people were worried about him coming into the NFL, not that he didn't have the potential, but that it would just take a while to unlock some of that potential. He's a beast. He's huge. He is going to be good for a long time on that line. Lions line. A little bit of a tongue twister there. But next is Defensive Rookie of the Year, Micah Parsons. He is leading the Cowboys in tackles. He is turning that defense into a decent defense now. They used to suck, and crazy how one player is really making a difference now. He's been a beast. Comeback Player of the Year, Mike Parsons' teammate, Dak Prescott, snapped his leg in a gruesome injury last year. He's coming back and playing like a beast. Definitely an MVP candidate, and I'm glad I have him on my fantasy team because all my other players are bad. So, yeah. Coach of the Year, I have Matt Rule. The Panthers are looking like a really good team, something not a lot of people would expect. He is getting the most out of his players. Sam Darnold is not looking like a bust anymore. I think that is heavily in part due to Matt Rule and his play calling. We knew he's a great offensive-minded coach coming out of Baylor, and he's getting that defense to play better than their expectations too. So that'll wrap it up for my segment. I will send it back to Mr. Beckwith, and he will carry on with his awards and transition into our next segment. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Jack. I thought your awards were great, and we even had some of the same players, so I changed it up a little bit. I'm going to start off with my MVP. I originally had Stafford, but I'm going to change it to Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's been playing great this year. It seems like he's running for 50 yards a game and throwing for almost 300 a game. He's on a great team that I think could be contenders in that NFC. Offensive Player of the Year is Cooper Kupp as well. Jack had the same thing as me. This dude has 5 touchdowns in the first 3 games. He's had probably 8+ receptions every game and 80+ receiving yards every game. He's just an animal right now. If he keeps up with this pace, I think he's going to be better than Davante Adams was last year. Defensive Player of the Year is a big hot take here. Many people would say Myles Garrett or Chandler, but I'm going with Matthew Judon, linebacker from the Patriots. This dude is a menace. He gets in the backfield, gets those sacks, bunch of tackles for losses. I expect him to get even better as this year goes on and he learns that Patriots defense. So Matthew Judon is my sleeper for Defensive Player of the Year. Offensive Rookie of the Year, he had Penei Sewell. I like that pick, but I think it's Jamar Chase right now. He's got a lot of touchdowns. Him and Burrow have that connection like you talked about. I think this connection is going to be one of the top in the league in the near future. Defensive Rookie of the Year is a no-brainer. Micah Parsons is the obvious choice. He's just great for that Cowboys defense. This defense has come a long way since last year, and the Cowboys are now contenders in the NFC, just not quite on the Bucs or Rams level yet. Comeback Player of the Year, this could be questionable if they count as a Comeback Player of the Year, but this player dealt with injuries all last year, never really got his injury situation figured out, carried it into training camp. But my Comeback Player of the Year is Austin Eckler. He has been a menace on the field. He gets a bunch of receptions for a running back. He pops off some big runs every now and then, and he's always getting touchdowns in games. I expect Austin Eckler to continue this big year. Coach of the Year, my Coach of the Year is John Gruden of the Las Vegas Raiders. He's been great this year. This team looks like they could actually be competitive in the AFC. He's won some big games like we talked about earlier, Ravens, Steelers. I think that John Gruden's made this Raiders team come a long way. For the next segment, we're going to go to fantasy loves and hates from the first 3 weeks. My first love is Cooper Kupp. I got on my team. He's been unreal. Davante Adams last year, not much we can talk about there. Second love is a bit of a surprise. He's on most people's waivers. It's Mike Williams. He stepped into that wide receiver 1 role for the Chargers. He's getting more targets than Keenan Allen. He's getting more touchdowns than Keenan Allen. Did not expect this. He's in an offense that throws the ball 40 times a game. Mike Williams will be great for the rest of the year. My first hate from the first 3 weeks is Antonio Gibson. Everyone expected this guy to have a CMC type role. He really hasn't done that. He's had 1 good game in his last week, and that was due to a 72-yard reception for a touchdown. Without that reception, he gets 3 points. So I'm not a big fan on Antonio Gibson so far. You might want to sell him while you can, folks. Second player I hated was Allen Robinson. I actually considered drafting him in my league. However, he's just not lived up to the hype. He's not getting the targets. First 2 games, I don't know about the last one, but he got out-targeted by Darnell Mooney. And with that offense they're in, Matt Nagy's terrible. Justin Fields is getting sacked. Andy Dalton's not a good quarterback. I don't expect Allen Robinson to get much better as the year goes on, so possibly sell while you can. That's it for my segment. I'm going to send it back to Jack for his fantasy loves and hates.
Thank you, Ty. Always a professional. Love listening to your thoughts. I will go over my fantasy loves and hates over the first 3 weeks now. First love, DJ Moore. Man, has this guy been a beast. He has been the number one target on that Panthers team and a big reason why they are 3-0 right now. Next fantasy love, Brandon Cooks. Wow. On a struggling Texans team, this is the one bright spot they have. Although he might not score that many touchdowns because the team isn't good, he gets a lot of targets and he's fast. He can get separation. He will always put up big numbers even if he doesn't score touchdowns. Fantasy hates. The first one is Tyreek Hill. Come on, man. What are you doing? You put up like 37 points in week 1 and then you put up like 5 and 9. You got to be better than that. Part of the reason the Chiefs aren't doing as well as they should. Robbie Anderson is the other fantasy hate. Wow. This guy's fallen off a cliff since last year. DJ Moore has taken over the primary spot on that Panthers team, and Robbie Anderson is getting almost no targets. I feel bad for whoever drafted him. Now that I'm wrapping that up, I will move on into our next segment where we will each be talking about our favorite teams. Me, of course, a Niners fan, will talk about the San Francisco 49ers. I'll start off with the game everyone watched this past Sunday night. I know we lost. It was a heartbreaker, but I can't say I didn't see it coming. I actually told Mr. Beckwith a couple hours before kickoff that we were probably going to lose on a game-winning field goal, and that's exactly what happened. I don't think it would have happened, though, if Trey Lance would have played the entire game. Real ones know that Trey Lance is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Even though we're paying Jimmy $25 million a year, and he led us to a Super Bowl a couple of years ago, and he's looked really good this year, he's still not better than Trey Lance. Trey Lance will give us the best chance to win, and in a division like the NFC West, you have to find things that can put you over the top. No one is dethroning the Rams anytime soon. Right now, the Cardinals have a better record than us, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Seahawks beat us next week if Garoppolo still starts. I don't know. It's definitely an interesting topic. There are people on both sides that have strong opinions on who should start for us, but I just think after watching Trey Lance go in and scoring touchdowns on the first play he's in against the Lions and the Packers, you can't just disrespect him and sit him the rest of the game. I don't know. Not to mention our defense sucks now. Anyone who thinks it's good has not watched the games. I mean, just pass the ball against us and you'll put up 50 points a game. I am not joking. We do not have a defense anymore. All right, I digress. Weeks 1 and 2, we didn't look great either. We almost let the Detroit Lions come back on us. That was pretty scary. And then we beat a crappy Eagles team by only 6. So yeah, definitely a little concerned, but there's a lot of mistakes that are fixable, and I highlighted some of the key ones, but I don't know. I just hope that we can compete the rest of the year, and like I said, we need to start Trey Lance. I'll send it back to Ty as he will talk about his beloved Patriots.
All right, folks. Thank you for that, Jack. A lot of Jimmy G hate there, I see, but I'm going to move on with my New England Patriots. This Patriots team, I talked about it earlier, they've been pretty disappointing this year. I expected the offense to be a little better. The run game's never really been established. Damian Harris fumbles in week 1, costly in the red zone against that Dolphins team, and looked like we could have won that game. Has a great week 2, and then week 3, where did he go? I think he had 20-some yards on the ground. We need to establish that run game with Damian Harris because I believe he's a top 5 running back in the AFC. Defense has been pretty good. I love the addition of Matthew Judon. I picked him as my defensive player of the year. Linebackers are playing well. Winovich is playing well. Uche has been dealing with some injuries, but I think he's going to be good. Secondary has been pretty well. J.C. Jackson has some interceptions against the Jets. Devin McCourty came across, had another interception against the Jets. And that's without Stephon Gilmore. I think when we add back Stephon Gilmore, the defense will return to its top 5 defense in the league form. Right now, the only thing that's killing us is penalties. We've had too many costly penalties, kicking the ball out of bounds. It's just not the Patriot way that I grew up to see. This weekend is going to be a huge test for this New England team, whether they can hang with the Bucs or not. I think if we put up a good fight in that game, then Patriot fans all across the U.S. should be happy with it, because I'll be honest, I don't expect us to win that game. I just want to see us compete. If we compete with that Bucs team, then I'm real excited going into the future. We need to just handle the ball late in games and stop turning the ball over. Give Mac Jones some time. That offensive line needs to figure it out. If we can figure it out with turnovers and just protecting Mac Jones, I expect the Patriots to make a run to the playoffs. And yeah, I'm just disappointed now, but I think there's a future with this Patriots team. With all that being said, I'm going to send it to Chase for his thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs.
Thank you, Ty. I appreciate those kind words. I'm here to talk about my sports team. That is the devastating Kansas City Chiefs right now. Right now, I'm not going to lie. Going back to what Mr. Lil said, our defense does suck. We're actually buns right now. And my panic scale is at a 3 out of 10. I still have faith. Always have faith. It's early in the season. But our defense does need to get better. Our run defense is probably the worst in the league. Last week, it looked pretty good. Better than I thought versus the Chargers, but we still managed to cause turnovers, which made us lose that game. It's not looking good if you're a Chiefs fan, but obviously I still have faith, like I said, and I think in the next couple weeks, I believe will be a positive record, and I'm hoping to be maybe second in the AFC West. I know the Raiders are hot right now, so but that's my goal in the next couple weeks, and I know the Chiefs can turn it around. Back to you, Chase.
What's going on, guys? It's CD Warren, and I'm here to pick the best game in the next 3 weeks. Week 4 here, this one's kind of tough. Not too bad, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals and Rams. These teams are both undefeated. Both has electric offense. And I'm really excited to see how that game turns out. Week 5, also another tough choice. I don't know here, folks. I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals and 49ers. I also think this is going to be another great game. Once again, Cardinals have an electric offense. 49ers have a great defense, and it should be a great matchup. Week 6, also another tough choice. Oh, good golly. I think I'm going to have to go with the currently right now divisional game between the undefeated Raiders and the Broncos. And like I said, this is going to be a big game because it's divisional. And I think it'll be fun to watch that Sunday at 3:25. Thank you. Back to you, Ty.
I appreciate that, Chase. Good picks on those game of the week. Next segment we're going to do is I'm going to predict 3 players I think are going to boom in fantasy in the near future. First player I'm going to go with is Saquon Barkley. Some might say he's getting there already, but I expect him to be Saquon Barkley of the past. He's getting involved in that pass offense. He's finally 100% healthy, so he's going to run the ball a lot more. Danny Dimes, I think he's going to rely on Saquon to be a check down for him, so I expect Saquon Barkley to be top 5 running back in the near future. My second player I think is going to boom is Calvin Ridley. Many fantasy owners drafted him super high. They expected him to be a top 3 fantasy wide receiver, and he hasn't lived up to that expectation. Some owners are just panicking right now. They're selling him for too low of a price, I think. So make sure you go get Calvin Ridley because I think he's going to boom. He's got an easy schedule coming up. We all know what Calvin Ridley can do, and it's going to be matter of time before he comes around. So Calvin Ridley is a guy I expect to boom in the near future. My last pick is a little bit of a hot take. This guy, he gets a lot of targets in an offense that many people call run first. In the last game he played, he had 3 drops, and 2 of them were in the end zone. So that really hurt his fantasy value, but Hollywood Brown. I think he's going to be great in the future. He's Lamar's favorite target. One game he had 11 targets from Lamar. He had two end zone targets in the game against the Colts, or against the Lions, pardon. Hollywood Brown, he's been a good receiver for them this year. Besides the drops, I think he'll figure that out. Hollywood Brown should be a good fantasy wide receiver. I don't know if he'll be top 15, but he's a good sleeper to have on your bench. And if he's out there right now and you can go buy low, go do that, because I think Hollywood Brown will be a league winner for some people in the near future. I'll send it back off to Jack for the last segment of this video. Jack, go ahead.
Thank you, Ty. I will now move on into our final segment where I will talk about one team who will fall and one team who will turn it around within the next few weeks. I'll start it off with the team that will fall. It's going to be the Denver Broncos. Yeah, they're 3-0. Cool. The teams they've played are 0-9, so a combined 0-9. So I think once they start playing better teams, you'll see them start to lose some games, especially in that tough division. I think they'll probably finish third in it. I just don't think with Teddy Bridgewater at the helm you can really be a playoff team. So that's what I have for that. The team that I think will turn it around is the Lions. The Lions have played really well in all three of their games. It's just they've played three really good teams. They've hung in there. They almost came back from like a 30-point deficit against my 49ers. They were beating the Packers at halftime, and then the Packers went on to score like 21 unanswered points. And if it wasn't for a Justin Tucker 66-yard field goal, they would have won on Sunday. So I think they'll turn it around. They are definitely not going to finish anywhere other than like third or fourth in that division, but they're not going to go 0-17 like some people thought at the beginning of the year. That'll wrap it up for my segment. I will send it back to Ty to finish it up.
Thank you guys for watching this first video we made. We do this because it's a lot of fun, and we do it because we love to talk about football. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you like it. We're going to try to do this every 3 weeks, so stay tuned for more videos like this, and go Patriots, baby.
What's going on, guys? It's CD Warren with yourself. Okay, hold on. I don't know what else.